before you can ever get to where you're going, you have to decide to begin. You have to acknowledge that what you're chasing means more to you than what you are leaving behind. And then begins the greatest adventure you will ever experience. Knowing that you have turned someday into right now. That the road beneath you is waving you on, the wind at your back, it pushes you forward. There are no guarantees in life, but that just might be what makes it so incredible. You'll only go as far as you allow your imagination to take you. Whether it's the end of your driveway, or where the sun and the ocean intersect. If you don't allow yourself to be vulnerable, you forfeit your greatness. If you don't risk failure, you have no shot at being the one who makes a statement. If you don't risk them laughing at you, you have no shot at them clapping for you. If you don't risk trading today for a future outcome that's uncertain, you'll never know the fortune that future held. Yeah, being vulnerable, it's difficult. It's hard, it hurts, but it has to. It's the ocean that separates what you have from what you want. The mountain that stands between who you are and who you want to be. And being vulnerable, it means you stop looking at what can go wrong and you start thinking about what can go right. Because every question's a double-edged sword. Right? Do you release that song? Because it could flop, but it will also kickstart your dream. Do you make that first trip to the gym? Because you'll probably look like you have no clue what you're doing, but it could also lead you to feeling better about yourself than you ever have before. Do you apply for that promotion? Because you could be let down, but it could also lead to a career transformation. Do you see the dynamic here? Every major decision comes with risk, and that's why people avoid making them. Standing out, taking the road less traveled, they shake our deeply rooted desire to fit in, right at the foundation. They conflict like fire and water. See, so much of our stress comes from a need to belong, to preserve a reputation, to be cool. You want a fun experiment? Watch how fast being cool turns into mediocrity. It's doing the things that are not cool over and over again that constitute greatness. The ones who are different, bold, out there, they change things. The ones who are okay being called irrational, okay being laughed at, okay with failing and not getting it the first time around. If you do not let yourself be vulnerable, you never experience failure on a significant level. You don't fail, you don't learn. You don't learn, you don't grow. And if that's the case, forget about the top of the mountain. Safety, comfort, a flawless reputation gets you a nice seat at the bottom looking up at greatness. At those who saw the opportunity and were willing to take a chance. So while you climb, keep your eyes on that big picture. Remember that we outgrow our worries. Through each stage of our lives, we look back and we realize that our previous priorities were misaligned. We worried about things that didn't matter. Allowed our decisions to be guided by variables that were irrelevant. And that's the beauty of risk. It escalates this realization. pushes us further and further past the little things that mean less and less with each step taken. Your mistakes will not matter. Criticism from strangers will not matter. What will matter is whether you took control and did something meaningful with your life. Whether you followed your heart and your instinct. And I know it's hard, I know it's uncomfortable. I can't sit here and guarantee the path will be paved out in gold, everything will go how you want, but I can promise this: you will learn, you will adapt, and move forward. I can promise that the critics and the naysayers get smaller and smaller until they fade out of the picture altogether. And most importantly, I can promise that if you don't do anything, you will not go anywhere, and that is the only way to fail. So trust yourself. Trust the process, believe that you are extraordinary, and go make your magic. When it came knocking, did you hear it? When it was in front of you, did you see it? Or did you look right through it, completely oblivious to what you had? See, opportunity is a subtle creature, a mystery to the universe. Misinterpreted as this obvious treasure calling out to you, when in actuality it's the map. It's the road, it's the courage to move forward. Opportunity's not the moon, the sun, or the stars, it's the staircase that takes you higher. The pieces that come together to comprise your universe. And when that sun comes up, the light sets, your eyes open, you wake up and breathe your first breath. Understand that you are breathing in opportunity. It's not what you look at, it's what you see, and befitting of the message, it's easy to push this away as insignificant or fluff. But let me ask you this. How does one person turn adversity into the very reason they succeed, and another turn that same adversity into a ball and chain? Why do some run toward chaos and others retreat? How can one person transform a loss now into a win later, and another person view that same defeat as the end? Well, the answer's simple, really. Did you seek out the opportunity or did you not? That is the question. And when you strip life down of its complexities, the patterns become apparent. The people who win never ask if it's possible, if it can happen. No, they begin with the premise that it sure can. The question is how? How can I make this a reality? How can I turn the world around me, the events taking place? Whether challenging, strenuous, reassuring, or anything in between, how can I position them to lift me up? That is the opportunity. And without that realization, there never will be your pot of gold. Right? It begins in your head and is projected out. They say fake it till you make it. Well, I'll tell you, there's something to that. Because if you never put a dream or a goal or a plan into existence, no matter how small, it simply fails to exist. You have to see your city on the hill when it's just rocks. It's not a waste. It's not stupid. It's not irrational, because you know what it can be. They don't, but you do, and that's opportunity. Their wasteland is your future empire. Their free time is your launch pad. Their hopelessness is your reassurance. They see blank space and you see infinity waiting to be unpacked and expanded. Look, there will be a day when they'll wonder how you did it, how you made what you have a reality. Well, you saw it. You simply saw what could be, and when you see opportunity, your mind, your body, and your life conform. So throw away the ifs and start asking how. In your world, there are no problems. Simply opportunities. In your world, there is no end. Only new beginnings. There's a substantial disconnect between what we envision and what we actually experience. And we make the plan, we think it's perfect, we're ready to go. Sure, I have my race plan, I'm gonna sprint the last mile. Yep, I know exactly what my career is gonna look like, here are the steps. I'll follow this plan in the morning, this one in the afternoon. But then you're in the midst of the battle. Right? And when you're in the trenches, you quickly realize that you didn't take into account a variety of factors. And funny enough, these factors are what make victory so difficult to begin with. The required patience, the persistence, the instinctual desire for routine, to know, to predict. And sure enough, that time comes. You go to sprint the last mile, but you didn't realize you'd be fighting just to keep going, let alone increase your speed. The time comes to take that next step with your business, your career. You didn't realize the market wouldn't embrace your product with open arms. The time comes to put your plan for the day into action. You didn't realize you'd be pulled in 20 different directions. See, the formula isn't as simple as we want to believe. Why? Because we attack armed with the wrong idea, just as much as life is about executing a plan. It's also about taking the unplanned and making it work. The unexpected, life's curveballs. They're not entities that lurk outside the scope of your game plan. They are your game plan. The idea is to be brave, not perfect. It's to be resilient, not flawless. Confident, not complete. The best athletes don't train to be perfect. No, they train to tolerate discomfort, because guess what? If you can't adapt, you die. If you can't adjust, you lose. Life will never conform to your plan, and people don't want to hear that. They remain stubborn, unchanged, and what they're left with is resentment and the feeling that they've been slighted by life. The person who plans for the perfect race will always be outdueled by the one who comes prepared to conquer its imperfections. The one who will rein in the unexpected, not bow to it or falter in its presence, but own it. The pursuit of victory is not one from which we emerge unscathed. It's messy, it's humbling. If you can't embrace the idea of being knocked down, then get out. If you're too proud to acknowledge that your plans aren't an instruction manual, you will be defeated. There's a saying that you can't control the wind, but what you can do is adjust your sails. Yeah, be prepared, be skilled, be the best at what you do, but be flexible. Move with the elements, relish in the understanding that the obstacles will come and they will make you stronger. Strong minds win because they don't succumb to events beyond their control, and that choice is always going to be there. You didn't plan for this, but the decision presents itself. Will it be the reason you fail or the reason you succeed? Some build, others tear down. Some take risks, others critique the risk takers. Some pursue the infinite, others settle for a life of limitation. Some make change, others complain that things are no longer the same. Some help people grow, others think that your loss is their gain. Some learn from misfortune, others become held down by it. Some turn fear into opportunity, others avoid the unknown. Some never stop learning, others think they have all the answers. Some do, others talk. Some give, others take. Some live, others wish. Some see an opportunity, others see an obligation. Some work toward the possibility of excellence, others run from the possibility of defeat. Some fall and get back up, others stay where they are so that they never have to worry about leaving their feet. Some embrace the elements, others take shelter. Some search, seek and discover, others wait to be told. Some perform, others watch. Some persist, others stop. Some make the most of every single day. And others watch those very same days go by. So which one are you? What will you create with the pieces presented to you? Not tomorrow or the next day, but right now and every second moving forward. Will you build or tear down, take the easy road or the road less traveled? When all is said and done and you've come to the end of your story, what will it say? It's time. The world will not stop spinning. The clock won't stop ticking. Days won't stop slipping by. It's time. Things won't suddenly get easier. The difficulty does not remove itself. The path does not narrow. It's time. That perfect moment, it doesn't exist. A flawless beginning is fiction. The stars will never align for you. It's time. Not tomorrow, not someday down the road, but this very second. See, you don't need all the answers. You don't need to know or be sure or be armed with guarantees. Your job, your only requirement is to begin. It's time to trade fear for opportunity. Someday for right now, it's time to stop thinking small, stop seeing what you want as a reach, to stop looking at success as a stranger. It's time to sit down and convince yourself that what you want can be accomplished when it's as real as the space in front of you, when it's as probable as the completion of a single step. It will happen because it has to. It's time. At some point, you have to see that you're not simply playing conservatively. You're not being a perfectionist. It's not about being okay with where you are. No, if we're going to get anywhere, let's be truthful. Let's call it what it is. These things, these ideas, these excuses are a derivative of fear. The problem with possibility is that it's incredibly hard to quantify. Technically, if you've never had it, you've never lost it. And that is how we rationalize staying where we are. That's why we compartmentalize the things we want most as dreams. But for a second, let's be bigger. Let's start from the premise that what life can provide or become is limitless. It is truly infinite. And when you sit on an idea or you refuse to begin, you are in fact losing. Every single thing around you, everything. At one point, it began. At one point, someone summoned the courage to reach out and take what's in front of them. Maybe you do the same. Maybe you take that step. Maybe the first few times go terribly wrong. Maybe it's terrifying. Maybe you find out who has your back, who your real friends are, and maybe those truths scare you. But guess what? Guess what those steps turn into? Confidence, amplified purpose, and most importantly, more steps. You get to see right in front of you as your demons diminish, evaporate. The higher you climb, the better the view, the longer the road, the greater the experience. I would rather fall 1,000 times and continuously get back up stronger than be someone who looks at the world through a window like it's some fairy tale. Because at the end of the day, sure, they have no scratches, scrapes, or bruises, but I have no limits, and I'd make that trade any day. It is time to stop separating what you want from what you have and take that step forward. It's time to go get it. No one is stopping you. Nothing is stopping you. And in fact, if you choose to be, you are unstoppable. So take a look in the mirror, lace up your shoes, open the door, and begin. It's time. Simple truth. Just because you don't see a solution doesn't mean one isn't sitting right next to you. See, we misinterpret life when the lights are off and the path is unclear. What do I mean by this? Well, imagine being in a dark room, right? Sitting by yourself in pitch black, having no idea what's around you. Every direction is uncertain. Certainly be a troubling feeling, fear-inducing. But what it doesn't mean is the content within the room is insufficient for what you need. It doesn't mean that you need to go somewhere else to find your answers or that you've failed. It means that you simply have to turn on the light. What you need is right next to you, you just are not seeing it. And that is the point. We've all been in that metaphorical darkness. When we equate that with failure or loss, feeling like we're not quite enough. It's why we get discouraged. It's when we write narratives based on our supposed inadequacy. Oh, I'd be enough if only I had this one thing, if only the situation were slightly different. When the time is right, the weather's good, the door is open, then I'll be what I need to be, where I want to be. But in reality, you're not lost. You're not substantially off track. You just can't see the solution you're sitting on, and in your mind, because you can't see it, it's not there. But repeatedly, life shows us that when you assume the pieces you need are accessible, you find a way. When you know somewhere in the cloud of uncertainty you're sitting in that there's an answer, you find it. All that's required is a momentary flicker of light. That sudden realization, and things change. Look at these two questions. The first one asks, can I find a solution? And the second one asks, how will I find a solution? Two very different questions. Not a lot separates them on the surface, but there's enough discrepancy between the two to change the trajectory of your life. One says, I can't see the solution, so there must not be a solution. The other says, I can't see the solution, so I need to make adjustments until I can see it. And that's all success is. That simple question. I'm not where I want to be now, so how can I illuminate the trail? It's amazing how the step we need to take, the one that will create the momentum we need, it always exists. And life reinforces this over and over again. The moment you understand, you free yourself from yourself. And I can speak from experience. I didn't just one day appear at this realization. When I get this camera, the YouTube channel begins. When my audience reaches this number, I'm going to be braver, more creative with my approach. If I had this equipment, I'd be a faster runner. That's wrong. All of that fails to take into account the answers that are in the palm of my hand. Right? It's not about the 4K camera, it's about the story. Use what you have. It's not about the size of your audience, it's the value you provide them. So pour your heart out. It's not about the equipment, it's the mindset. So stop wasting time and hit the pavement. And this rationalization is not rare, it's everywhere. I've heard it, you've heard it. Someday I'll start a business, I just need that degree, an MBA, 5 years of experience, capital. No, you need an idea in the internet. It's 2018. It's never been easier in the history of the world to share ideas and make things happen. The I will when the time is right approach, that gets you nowhere. You have the answers. You talk to them, walk by them, type them into a screen. They're everywhere. And what makes the difference is whether you see what you have and manufacture your solution, or you see what you don't have and create a sob story. And that's why you can place people in the exact same situation and get incredibly different results. Some build bridges, others build walls. But at the end of the day, they started with the same stuff, the same materials. The difference is one didn't have the foresight to flip on the light switch. That answer, the one you're looking for, it goes off at 5, You can hit snooze or get a head start. The answer surrounds you every day. You can give attention to toxic people and things or embrace the positivity. That answer, it forces you to be better. You can believe you're inadequate or simply improve. Because when you find yourself in even the darkest of places, you are not confined to that reality. You are tasked with changing it. When you're not getting the result you want, take a step back and re-examine how you're looking for your answers. Because with persistence and a single flicker of light, you can reconstruct the world around you. Nothing in life will ever be bigger or smaller than your thoughts about it. You are your perception of the world as it unfolds before you. Your mind will either be your single greatest ally or the very reason that you fail. This is a battle between you and yourself. And I want to make something clear. No one, nothing will ever dictate your success except you. Those who judge or criticize, they're not a reason to change your approach or backpedal. They are a benchmark. They are a sign to carry on. See, you'll never achieve until you can depersonalize criticism, until you understand that negativity, that the opinions of others are not a reflection of you or your work. They are simply part of a beautiful process. Look, in life there are certain undeniable truths. I can promise you that tomorrow the sun will rise. I can promise you that 2 and 2 will give you 4, and I can promise you that anything worthwhile in life will have its doubters, its haters, and its cynics. You will have people who want to pull you down before you begin the climb. But they are not the problem nor the tragedy. Their existence is guaranteed. Oh, they'll be there. The tragedy is letting them misdirect your journey, giving them control of a battle that is not theirs to take. You aren't doing this for the ones trying to tear you down or the ones helping to lift you up. You're doing it because it's right for you, because deep down in your soul, you know there's no other reason, there's no other option. You know what your values are, where your heart is. When they say no, smile. When they talk, carry on. If you have not made the world around you uneasy or uncomfortable, if you've generated no reaction, you have not moved. So don't run from the dissenting voices, let them be. Their words highlight their own shortcomings, not yours. Sure, it will be difficult. Yes, it's an adjustment, but at some point you'll see that the climb was dependent on it. That attempting to satisfy the world around you only leaves you empty, because at the end of the day, you can hide from criticism or anticipate it and keep moving right towards your dreams. Build your castle. There is no need to keep the doubters or the naysayers out. They are no threat to your empire. One of the most important realizations out there, right? You could say for life in general, certainly any situation, is simply knowing that there are options. There are always options. And that's in reference to that metaphorical edge or cliff that we all come up against every now and then. Right? In one capacity or another, we've all been there. We've had enough. We're mentally, physically exhausted. The deck seems to be stacked against us, and things feel hopeless. Right? And the reason that this realization has been so valuable is because it's in these moments that the negative seems to want to overshadow the opportunity. It's all we see. Right? When you've taken loss after loss after loss, your rough stretch, the brain tends not to paint pictures of rainbows or butterflies. It does the opposite. Creates a narrative of victimhood, tragedy, acceptance. It says that this is reality, this is forever. And that's why so many people let the past define who they are. Right? Because when it's rained for 6 weeks, you begin to anticipate rain. But that's why this little rule is so crucial, right? It says, hey, listen, take a step back and remember that you were the one pulling the strings. Anytime things feel hopeless, it's because you are choosing not to look at what matters. You're seeing the bad stuff, the footsteps that brought you to your predicament. But they are not you, and they have very little to do with your ability to change. It will never be a false statement that the rest of your life starts now with the decisions you make from here on out. The trick is you have to see the ocean of opportunity and not that bucket of water that you tripped over. That will always be the temptation. And I can speak from experience. I've had projects fail. I've had investments fall apart, relationships come crashing down, all the above, just like every single person alive. But what makes or breaks us is the ability to recognize our emotional state, understand that we're being irrational. Our discomfort, panic, dreary outlook, all of that is self-induced, self-made. And we can decide to see the good. Your business idea was a disaster, fine. There are 2 things you can do. You can say to yourself that you suck and you can dwell on it, or you can think about the experience, the relationships you built, the lessons learned. Look, some people pay 6 figures to read about your experience in a textbook. You lived it. Maybe it didn't go exactly as planned, but you'll get to talk about that someday in an interview, right? After your next project, your next business blows up and changes the world. You can do anything, you can go anywhere, and I say that because just the thought is incredibly liberating. You're never stuck, and how amazing is that? Unless you hold out your hands and cuff yourself, limits do not exist. You have weaknesses, sure, fine, we all do, but the question is, what are your strengths? How can you better utilize what you have? The wealthy, the successful, the accomplished, the people you read about, they take the down times in stride. And I'm not saying smile and whistle while things fall apart around you. What I'm saying is anything that falls apart can be rebuilt, recreated. So don't forget that, right? Stop limiting your perspective. A loss is a future gain. Ends are new beginnings. Being scared means you're trying something new. Being embarrassed means you're learning. Sure, on the surface, these things look bad, sometimes very bad, but in the long run, they make you who you are. I always say people don't run marathons because it feels good. When you dig down, there's something more there. They're doing it for another reason. In the bumps in the road, the pain now, it doesn't mean you struck out or lost. It's part of the process. It turns into a feeling so beautiful, so perfect, that you can't even really articulate it. When you feel bad about your situation, you are thinking about the mistakes of yesterday and not the opportunity of right now. You are thinking about what has and can go wrong and not what can go right. It doesn't matter how dire your situation, you can take something from it. So put that into practice. Next time you're feeling discouraged, and that time will come, ask yourself what you are really focusing on. Seriously. And I guarantee you it's not on how incredible your family is, how far you've come over the past 5 years, or how every single thing you need to make your dreams come true is available to you. No, you're probably thinking about the ridiculous, irrational nonsense that holds you back. Right? You will face obstacles in life and you will overcome them, but be the solution, not another obstacle in your own way. When you are against the wall or on the edge, think bigger. Remember that any situation can be undone, any story can be rewritten. See the opportunity. Pull out your notebook and get to work on building the world as you want it to be, not as it is. The answers are all around you. Choose to see them. The same is never extraordinary. It's never remarkable or memorable, will never be talked or written about. So why then is it so frequently sought after? What compels us to wander down this path of familiarity? The same path covered up with the footprints of millions who have already been there before you, who have done it before, who've been deceived by it before. Following the footsteps of the majority, it guarantees one thing: that you will get what the majority has. You'll get their comfort, their reassurance, their sense of belonging, but that's half the deal. Because the path also comes with unanswered questions. It comes with never knowing what's possible or could have been, or your potential. See, being the same is like ibuprofen. It addresses the symptom, not the root cause. It fulfills an immediate need. But like a dwindling flame, you'll see more and more every day that it's not capable of keeping the room lit. The same means you didn't ask yourself what's right, you asked the world around you. And contrary to what most believe, these answers are not congruent. You can't follow the crowd and follow your heart. You can't be what's popular and be what's true to yourself. You can't be the same and be significant. If you want to achieve, think differently. Stop waiting in lines for things you don't want. They will not bring you fulfillment. They will not lift you up or set you apart or give you meaning. Conformity has a ceiling, and your potential does not. This creates conflict. It breeds missed opportunities and wasted potential. If there is one thing I want you to take away from this, one thing, understand that the size of a crowd is not proportional to the value of the decision it's making. Millions and millions can miss the very opportunity that one person saw. The whole world can turn away from the answer that one person believed in. To mindlessly join the march is to forfeit that opportunity, to be that one person. To bring something to the table, to change the world and redraw the lines around humanity that box so many of us in. The temporary comfort of belonging, it's a false god. It brings you nothing but away from where you want to be, from where you can be. The goal is not to be them, it's to be yourself and in turn create a better world for them, for yourself, for your dreams, for what's possible. To get something different, you have to do something differently. Don't conform to what's there, find what's not. Don't listen to what's said, write new words to be spoken. Don't follow yesterday's path, pave a new path for tomorrow. What's standing, it already exists. Your treasure lies in the gaps and blank spaces between them. The things that people walk right by. That's what you need. That's what the world needs, even if they don't know it. Look, you may not be understood now, but like anything of value, of true meaning, that time will come. Just at a cost the majority is not willing to pay. But if you are, your path will lead you past mediocrity, past conformity, past the average, and towards the best things this world has. You didn't see what is, you saw what could be, and you created it. And there is nothing more powerful than that.